Welcome to Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot. My show is dedicated to helping you build healthier, stronger relationships through the understanding of the personalities. This show airs every week live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want you, if you haven't already done so, to hit that subscribe button, to like and comment if you like the content that you are receiving on this channel, and to share it with your friends and family. Because I don't think I've ever even mentioned this. The reason why I'm doing this show, I might have on the very first segment, but the reason why I'm doing this show is to help you to understand each other. I want people to know that we all have a different lens by which we view the world, and that's our personalities. And some of the conflict that we have with each other is based on the fact that we don't understand how the other person views the world or how they interact through the lens of their personality. So this show is really dedicated to helping you figure those things out. The personalities was developed by the late world-renowned Florence Littauer, where she uses terminology such as the popular sanguine, which is my primary personality style. That means I'm outgoing and I'm bubbly. I'm charming. I draw people to me. But I'm also flighty and forgetful, and sometimes a little self-centered, and I'm focused on the things that I want to do and how I want to live my life. Now, you also have the powerful choleric, which is also my personality style. I have a primary sanguine and a secondary choleric. Now, the sanguine and the choleric are both extroverted personality styles. That means you get your energy from other people. The powerful choleric, that personality style is a born leader. It's a mover and a shaker. They get more things done in the morning than most of us get done all week. Now, I've already covered those in a deep dive, the extroverted personality styles. If you look at my previous videos, you will see that. Then you have two introverted personality styles, the perfect melancholy, which is also a personality style that I covered a deep dive in, so you can check out that video. And that personality is a deep thinker, highly intelligent, compassionate. It's a person who cares about the world at large and not just their own tribe. But that person's also judgmental and critical and harsh in how they deal with people. And they're prone to be moody and depressed a lot. Tonight, I'm going to do a deep dive in the fourth and final personality style, and that's a peaceful phlegmatic. And so I'm going to talk more about that. But again, I want you to be able to learn more about the personality so you can navigate your relationships with other people. We tend to want to change others to our point of view or the way we see the world instead of appreciating the way they see the world and shifting our own perspectives, shifting our own behavior, shifting our own thoughts and how we navigate with other people. So that's kind of what my show is about. I do it as it relates, I talk about personalities as it relates to relationships, and which is really critical and important because I am a Christian, even though this show is not a Christian show. It is based on my thoughts and feelings as it relates to my training on the personalities. So my idea about personalities is based on my spirituality. And I believe God is a relational God, and he wants us to have positive relationships with other people. And we do that by looking at ourselves and seeing what we need to do in order to build those kind of relationships. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about the peaceful phlegmatic personality style. The personalities, I love the personalities. In my own family, I have all four of the personality styles. My husband is a choleric sanguine. He has both the extroverted personality styles. I'm the flip of that. I'm a sanguine choleric. So my husband, primary, needs to have control. And his secondary needs to have fun. My primary needs to have fun, and my secondary needs to have control. My daughter is a melancholy choleric. That means she needs to have things in order. There needs to be structure. There needs to be, purpose in what she does. My youngest is a phlegmatic sanguine, and her phlegmatic we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm not going to give you a lot of detail on that until we get into it. But I have all of the personalities in my small family. My son is a choleric sanguine as well. So again, we have the sanguine, the choleric, the melancholy, and the phlegmatic. So let's get into the phlegmatic personality style. As I did before, I have a slide presentation to kind of go through the personalities so that you can better understand them. If you are calling in or dialing in or looking at this through your cell phone, take a picture. If you're on your laptop, you can take a screenshot and save the screenshot. So you'll have this for future information, or you can just come back and re-look at the video, which will be posted right after this show. All right, let's talk about the peaceful phlegmatic. The peaceful phlegmatic, and this, I'm sorry that the screen's a little off. I tried to fix it earlier, but I guess it didn't work so well. But the peaceful phlegmatic, their basic desire is peace. That's why we call them the peaceful phlegmatic. They need a calm, peaceful environment. They need a stress-free environment. My youngest, who is a phlegmatic, always said, when she was growing up and I would tell her I needed her to do X, Y, Z, and I would tell her over and over again, she would say, Ma, you're stressing me out. And so peaceful phlegmatics need peace. And they control people by procrastination. As you can see in this little meme I have, or this little slide I have, it says, I put the procrastinate. And because they tend to procrastinate, and that's how they control other people. Now let's think about that. If you're controlling other people by procrastination, how does that work? If you're telling a phlegmatic that you want them to do something and you're pressuring them, when they drag their feet, either you're going to do it for them or you're going to leave them alone. Either way, it's a win-win for the phlegmatic. All right, let's talk about a little bit more about the emotional needs of the phlegmatic. The emotional needs of a phlegmatic is, again, they need peace and quiet. They need to be able to regroup. They need to have a calm, serene atmosphere. And so their home is normally a place where they can lie down and take naps or watch movies or read books. They just need a very peaceful environment. They need a sense of worth. They need to know that you value them and that they have a sense of worth in the workplace, in the household, whatever. They need respect. They need to know that you respect them because they are so quiet and they're unassuming and they're in the background. So they need to know that you are a person that respect whatever they bring to the table. And again, a stress-free environment, right? And that's in the workplace, that's in any organization, that's in the household, in relationships. They need to know that there's not going to be any stress in that environment. All right, so let's get a little bit about and as you can see in this environment that I created on here. Good evening, Sarita. Thank you for joining. You see the person's laying on the couch and they're reading a book. You will find most phlegmatics chilling because they're just they like to relax. They like to lay down. I always say a phlegmatic will prefer to sit rather than stand and would prefer to lay down rather than to sit. That's a phlegmatic personality. Now, you can also identify them by their very casual attire. Normally they have comfortable shoes on, sometimes sweat clothes, or maybe a sundress, something that is comfortable for them, and they don't have to have a lot of restriction in their clothing. You also would find out that they're, just laid back. They're the person that's kind of sitting in the room, not bothering anybody. They're just calm. They tend to mumble. So if you meet somebody that you can't really understand what they're saying, they're talking really low or they're mumbling, They tend to be phlegmatic. They're watchers. I remember when my daughter was young, she was so phlegmatic when she was young. I thought, well, she has no other personality style. I couldn't even see anything other than a phlegmatic when before she hit puberty. And so I remember a friend, I had neck surgery, and a friend came over to visit me from work. And he was sitting on the couch, and I was in my chair or whatever, trying to recuperate. And my daughter was in the room, and she didn't utter a sound. Like, she was just looking at him and watching him. And she got up to go get me a glass of water to go to the bathroom or something. And he looked at me. He said, "Why is your daughter staring at me like that?" I said, "Sue, she is. She doesn't really say a whole lot. She's watching you. And she watches anybody who's around me when her dad's not home. And she does the same thing when she's with him." But she's a watcher. And she could come back and tell you just about anything that took place. She will tell you what a person had on. She will tell you, what people were doing, what people were saying, because she was always watching. Another way you can identify a phlegmatic is by the blank look on their face. They really don't demonstrate a lot of emotion in their face. So let's just say you were going on a job interview and you were sitting across from the person, and the person is interviewing you, is not giving you any idea whether you have the job or not. Like, you can't tell by their expression. You can't tell by how they're communicating. Nothing about that tells you whether you're doing good on the interview or not doing well on the interview. It is because more than likely they have a phlegmatic trait. And they really are relaxed in their approach. They're very comforting. They're very kind. They're very gentle in how they communicate with you. They're very relaxed. All right, so let's talk about the peaceful phlegmatic in different roles. As a parent, they take their time with their children. Like, they're very calm with their kids. They don't overreact to things when things go wrong. They see the possibility that, things will be okay, because, they're so laid back. They just don't see the gravity of a lot of situations. And so they don't put that kind of pressure on their children. They're not easily upset by the things that go on. It's like, okay, well, that happened, so it'll be fine. Don't worry. They're also a parent that lacks structure. They just will allow their kids to live life and experience things and have ups and downs, and it's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. You shouldn't worry about it either. But they have very little structure. And they're procrastinators. So if the child has something, a report or something due at school, or they have a project, that's the word I was looking for. They have a project that's due. They will drag their feet until the last minute in helping the child get that thing done. They will sometimes forget that there are appointments, or they're late to the appointments, or the child may be late getting to school, because they are just, realizing, okay, we'll get there. It's going to happen. Let's not worry about it. Now, at work, they tend to be mediators. They want people to get along. They don't want there to be any stress in the environment or pressure in the environment. They're very competent. They can do just about anything they put their minds to. They may not want to be in charge. They may not want to speak up or lead meetings, but they are the personality style that mimics all the other personality styles. So they can act like a sanguine and speak out in public, or, be the person that represents the group. They can act like a choleric and run the show. They can act like a melancholy and think about all the details that need to happen and be able to plan a thing. Or they can be in the background and be supportive, as a phlegmatic would be. So they're very competent. They dislike pressure. They don't like for you to put pressure on them and force them to do things that they don't want to do. And if you do, they'll dig their heels in and they will just be stubborn about not doing whatever that thing is. They also come off as lacking motivation. They they have the model that if it's not broken, why fix it? A lot of people feel that way. If it's not broken, why fix it? And that is a phlegmatic model. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. As a friend, they're great listeners. Like you can count on them to listen to whatever it is that you have going on. They're great listeners. They also would make really good counselors, and that's probably on the slide when I talk about careers, because they're such great listeners. They have such a pleasant demeanor. As I was saying about my daughter, when she was young, she went to a Christian school, and it was probably maybe 10 girls in the class, if it was that many. But whenever the children had sleepovers or parties, she was always on everybody's list. She was always invited. When I would go pick her up from the sleepover, the parents would say, "Oh my gosh, you can bring her back anytime. She's so sweet. She's so kind. She's so good." I never had a problem with leaving her with anybody because everybody loved to babysit her. But also on some of the other areas is that they can be very sarcastic, or they tease people. And a lot of it's in good fun, but some people may not take it that way. And they resist change. When I tell you a phlegmatic does not like change, they do not like change. Like I said, if it's not broke, why fixing it? Why are you fixing it? So if you try to get them to change their appearance or their home or their finances or anything, they will resist it initially. Maybe at some point they may say, okay, this might be good for me, but for the most part, they're resisting it. Now, if you have any questions and you want to ask the questions, please put them in the chat, because I want this to be an engaging conversation. I want you to ask me about your phlegmatic that's in your life, whether that phlegmatic is at work, whether it's your child or your mate, whether it's a friend. I even know that people in ministry, I remember a person telling me that the people in the ministry that they worked in were all phlegmatics, and they were challenged because they were a choleric. And a choleric is a born leader, mover, and a shaker. And they're in a room full of people who have a difficult time moving forward on an issue. So if you have somebody like that in your life and you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat. If the chat is not available in the format in which you are looking at the show, please go to my YouTube channel, Personality Speaking. You can also go to my Facebook page and you should be able to comment there, or LinkedIn. But I would love to chat with you. The other thing is, if you want to learn more about the personalities, other than what I'm telling you now, you can also go to my website, Beyond Two. That's BEYONDTWOLLC.com. And you can also book me to add a little personality to your event. I also do personality parties. You can get personality assessments from me, so that you can figure out your personality style and the personality styles of your loved ones or your coworkers or whomever you are impacted or they're impacted by your personality. All right, so let's talk about the strengths and weaknesses. Some of the strengths of a phlegmatic is that they're chill, they're low key, they're just cool, calm, collected, like nothing roused them. They're quiet. They are witty. They're really funny. They crack the driest jokes, but they're hilarious. And sometimes they're cracking jokes under their breath, and only maybe the person next to them will even hear the joke or even get the joke. They are sympathetic. They care about what's happening with their friends. They're always, will offer a listening ear. You have a shoulder to cry on. You can count on them. They're dependable. But they're also content in their own condition. Wherever they are, they're happy in their lifestyle, whether in their home, being alone, but they're content. So let's talk about some of the weaknesses. Now, that's not all the strengths, and not every Phlegmatic has all of the strengths or the weaknesses. Okay. So let's talk about some of the weaknesses. Phlegmatics are unenthusiastic. Like, it's hard to get them excited about things. I mean, some of the most exciting things, they're looking at you with a blank look on your face. You'll never know they're excited. That's why I said if you're having an interview with a phlegmatic, you may be doing phenomenal on the interview and you would have no idea because their face won't show a thing. They'll have this blank look on their face. They're also fearsome, they're fearful, and they're worrisome. So they worry about things and they're afraid of a lot of different things. They're afraid that you don't like them. They're afraid that you don't trust them, that you want to be around them, that you think they're smart or wise, that they're capable. They have a lot of different fears, right? And they worry. They worry about some of those very same things. They also have what is called a quiet will of iron. And that what that means is they may not be confrontational, but they'll dig their heels in. If you keep forcing them to try to do something they don't want to do, eventually they'll dig their heels in and say, I'm not doing it. And nothing you can do will force me into it. So that's what a quiet will of iron means. Also, they can be too shy, just painfully shy. And, you know, they can almost melt into the background of an environment because they don't want people to know that they're there, so they won't say anything. I just remember a phlegmatic being in class and would just not look at the teacher because they felt like if I didn't look at the teacher would notice me. And a lot of times that was true. The teacher didn't notice her because she was so quiet and never made waves. And, you know, she was just that kind of child. I don't know if I skip indecisive. They're very indecisive. They have a hard time making the decision. They'll keep asking you questions about should I. They're self-righteous. They can be, you know, about whatever is important to me. I don't want to change. Because they fear change. I don't want to do X, Y, Z because they don't want to be in the forefront. So sometimes it's about them and what they need versus how they can support and help somebody else. They can also be too compromising, right? Because they don't want conflict, they will compromise even when it's to their detriment. That's why they're it's okay to compromise, but when it's to your detriment, when it's more about making sure that you don't make somebody angry, that you just give them whatever they want, that's too compromising. They tend to be uninvolved, right? They don't want to get involved in things because they feel like it's not their business. So if it's not my business, I'm not getting involved. Don't drag my name in it. Don't say I said. They're pretty much uninvolved. Now, if somebody tells you that a phlegmatic said or did something, yeah, typically that's not their motive. Oh my goodness. That's not the way they do things. That's not the way they do things. But if they do, it's probably because their secondary is something else. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the weaknesses that the phlegmatic has and how to overcome them. And as I said before, I have a large following of believers. And so I always add scripture to whatever it is I'm doing because people want to know, what does the Bible say about that? So we're going to talk about the phlegmatic and the fact that the phlegmatic is indecisive. Phlegmatics need to develop a skill of making timely decisions without overthinking it. So, okay, somebody tells you that. What does that mean? Like, how do I do that? And one of the ways you do that is by setting a time limit. You have to give yourself a specific time frame to make a decision. Instead of somebody asking you, can you tell me when you're going to do XYZ? You can say, okay, I'm not sure when I'm going to do that, but I can give you an answer by Friday. When you do that, you're forcing yourself to make a decision, right? And this prevents you from overthinking it or contemplating on that situation too long. And it will allow you to focus to get the information you need in order for you to be able to answer it in a time period that is reasonable. So set a time limit on whenever somebody asks you to do something or ask you a question. All right. The second way that you can make a timely decision is to clarify your values and goals. If you understand your own priorities and what you are trying to achieve, this really helps you to set a time, to set a way of being able to make a decision by eliminating some of the options that don't align with what you are trying to achieve. So if you are trying to achieve something, when you recognize what it is you want, what the outcome is going to be for you, then it's easier for you to make a decision. It's easier for you to eliminate the things or the options that don't align with what it is you want to achieve. All right. You need to also trust your instincts. If you want to be able to make a timely decision, you need to trust your instincts. I know phlegmatics can be afraid of the outcome of the decision that they might make. So sometimes that is the reason why they take so long to make a decision. I know sometimes they're afraid of the retribution that might come with the fact that they made the wrong decision or the decision that was too soon to make. Like you made a decision, it might be the right decision, but not the right time. But if you trust your instincts, sometimes your initial gut feeling is a great indicator of whether or not you're going in the right direction. You have to learn to trust your intuition, but also consider it as a valid input in your decision-making process. Trust your instincts. Now, scripture says in James 1:5, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So if you don't know, ask God. Ask your higher power. I don't know what I should do. I have a time limit on when this has to be, the answer has to be given. I want to be able to make a decision that lines up with your perfect will. And so you ask God and allow him to direct your path. All right. So let's talk about another tip. Some of the phlegmatics aren't assertive, right? It's having a hard time being assertive because you care about what other people think about you. And some of the ways you need to do that is you have to enhance your assertiveness. You have to work on expressing your thoughts and needs in a way that's more assertive. Now, how do you do that? You do that by recognizing that you have rights, what your rights are. You understand that you have rights. You have the right to express your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs without having to worry about rejection or criticism. And I think I said this on one of my other podcasts. I heard, and I hate that I can't tell you exactly where I heard this, but it was from a speaker. And she said, what other people think about you is none of your business. That was like such a light bulb moment for me, because as a sanguine, I care about, I have a high need to be liked. And when you have a high need to be liked, you care about what other people think about you. But she said, what other people think about you is none of your business, because you can't change what other people think about you. You can't, right? So why do you try to change what other people think about you? All you can do is work on you and not be caught up with other people think about you. Now, sometimes what people say is an indicator that you might have to examine those things. So you had 5 people tell you talk too much and nobody can get a word in edgewise. That's probably me. You need to examine yourself and say, okay, is that something I need to work on for myself? But if somebody says, you know what, she gets on my nerves because she talks too much, she can't never shut up, she don't give a person, you don't have to take all that on. Don't. You don't take it all on. You recognize that you have rights to express your thoughts and your feelings and your needs. And you don't have to feel rejected because somebody doesn't accept what you think and feel and what you need. So I'm just letting you know. Also, you have to choose the right moment. So you need the right time and the right place to address your concerns. Don't be out here in the front of a whole audience telling people what you think and how you feel and da 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 da. Because the moment somebody snap back at you, you're going to recoil. You're going to back away and you're going to back down. You're going to shrink down and you're going to feel some type of way. So also avoid discussing topics that are sensitive, especially when the emotions are running high. Like an incident just took place. Be careful what you say when people are heated, when people are angry, when people are worked up, when people are emotional. Be careful that you are picking the right time to have that discussion. Also use I statements. I statements. Not you need to make sure that you are using I statements instead of you. Because a lot of times when we have a difficult time with somebody or we want to express ourselves, you always telling me this, that, and the other, you make me feel like blah, blah, blah. No, I feel hurt. I feel wounded. I feel broken. I feel whatever you feel. Instead of you make me, or it's because of you, or whatever the you statements are that you make. Because when you take ownership about how you feel, it prevents people from feeling as if you're accusing them. Because otherwise, they're never going to have a conversation with you if it feels accusatory. All right, the scripture that I'd like to reference is Ephesians 4:15, 4 and 15. And it says, instead of speaking the truth in love, we will grow to become in every respect the mature body of him who is the head, and that is Christ. Instead, speaking the truth in love. I misread that. Instead, we need to speak the truth in love. A lot of times we want to tell people how we feel and what we think and what we need, but that thing is not in love. It's not in love. Woo! We think we can just tell you and tell you off and tell you how we feel. No, we need to speak that truth in love. My feelings are hurt. I feel some type of way. Whatever it is, it's the I statements and how, whatever it is, how you felt about it. What you need from the relationship, what you need from, the working relationship, the home relationship, the marriage, whatever, what your thoughts are. They're my thoughts. They're not because of anybody else. You know what you need and you can express what you need, but you can do that in love. All right, so let's talk about some other things that you can do. First of all, you can set clear boundaries, right? And you do that by, we talked about this a little bit before, you have to have personal boundaries in order to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of, because that's a thing with a phlegmatic. They give up their power so that they can get along with people. so that people won't confront them, so people won't hurt their feelings. You have to set clear boundaries. Listen, this is how I feel. This is what I think. This is what I need, right? Those are clear boundaries. Clear. So people don't step on you or step over you or hurt your feelings, because your feelings are valuable. And it doesn't require for you to shrink down so that other people will feel big, and that they can step all over you and all over you. What boundaries should be in place? Another thing you could do in order to set clear boundaries is start small, right? Start by making some small changes or boundaries around situations, right? And then you can get you can deal with more complex issues. So let's just say, let's give you a small example. You're going to the store to buy ice cream, and you're going to 31 flavors, and that's a lot for a phlegmatic because they're indecisive, you know. But you can say, when I go into the ice cream shop, I will say that I don't want you to tell me what to buy, but I would choose from 3 flavors: vanilla, chocolate, strawberries. Make it small, right? Whatever it is, don't tell me how to order ice cream. That's your small boundary, right? Let me do this on my own. I want to be able to choose ice cream on my own, right? So you just set some small boundaries that don't seem like it's a big deal. Um, One of the boundaries, that we have a double sink, that you stay on your side of the double sink, a small boundary. And then you start to do more complex things that will help you to deal with the situation. Also, you can use body language, because there's a lot of nonverbal cues that will help people maintain the kind of space that you need. And some of those boundaries is just, I always say, when somebody leans back from you, they're telling you you're too close, right? So back up off me. So sometimes it's just as simple as leaning back. And that's okay, because you're telling them, I need space, right? And so there are ways to do that. Sometimes if you know the person well, you can just touch them a little bit and lean back so they can see that they're too close. Because I have family members that will get way up in here, all up in your face. I'm one of them, actually. But I've learned to watch people's body language, not to just lean on into people unless people leaning into me. All right. Practice saying no. No. Do you think you could come over Saturday? No. Do you think you can babysit? No. Do you think, you can loan me? No. And not only practice saying no, but sit in it. Don't feel like you have to explain. Sometimes you could just say no and not explain. If somebody says, why not? Then you can explain. But if they say, can I borrow some money? And you say, no, sorry. No explanation necessary. You don't have to say, no, I don't have the money. Or no, I can't get that amount of money. Or no, my husband won't let me. No, just say no. Just say no. Somebody asks you if you want to eat and you don't want to eat. No, thank you. No, thank you. No. It's okay for you to decline requests that don't align with your boundaries. It's okay for you to say no. That one's going to be hard for you phlegmatics. The scripture I have is Proverbs 25:28. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. Like a city whose walls are broken through. So it's like a hole in the wall. Anybody can walk through, run through. They can, that's how a person is who lacks self-control, all over the place, being trampled over. Yeah. All right. So I always like to talk a little bit about the personalities as it relates to careers, choices, and things like that. I already said, and it's not even on here, you guys make great counselors, like great counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists, because you're thinkers, but also because you're listeners. You're great listeners. You can allow people to talk the whole hour, 45 minutes, whatever that time frame is, without really saying a whole lot, maybe asking an open-ended question here or there. And then you take notes because you're a great listener. Typically, because you're a great listener, you make good customer service people. You're listening to whatever the issues are. You're kind and compassionate and thoughtful. And so customer service is a great area because of your kindness. A nurse, a teacher, a mid-level management professional, um, that does not require for you to make a whole lot of decisions, like maybe an individual contributor is a great space for a phlegmatic. Pharmaceutical salesperson, because the pharmaceuticals pretty much sell themselves. And it's a one-on-one kind of a sale. You're talking to a professional who understands pharmaceuticals. A postal worker, especially the ones who do the admin aspect of postal work in the back, or putting, as my girlfriend says, putting up packages. I think she says throwing them up or something. But anyway, in the back, doing administrative work or putting packages up or putting up mail and that kind of thing. An office worker, somebody who's in a supportive role or environment. All right, before I finish up, I want to say this too. I want to get to relationships. Phlegmatics in a relationship. When phlegmatics are in a relationship, they tend to be over accommodating. They tend to not always talk about, they tend to not talk about their feelings. They tend to hold things in. In a relationship, they will allow their mate to make all the decisions, even if they really don't like all the decisions that their mate makes. They still will prefer them to make a decision than for them to make the decision. They're very calm and peaceful. I think every household needs a phlegmatic. Every household, because they're kind and gentle. They don't get worked up. But the other thing is funny, because I used to give an example of the 4 personalities as it relates to a fire drill. I would say the sanguine, the outgoing sanguine, the loud sanguine, would, if the fire drill went off, they would be screaming, "Oh my God, let's go!" And my husband, I feel sorry for him, because we'll be in the car and somebody would cross over the lane and I'm reacting in a very loud, crazy way. He's like, "Oh my God, you're scaring me." You throw me off when you do that. So that's the sanguine. A choleric is, okay, let me tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, where to do it. Follow me. I'll lead you to safety. That's the choleric. The melancholy is like, we have a floor plan. It's on the wall. This is the escape route. It's been planned for years. We revisit it every year to make sure it's still accurate. So let's follow the plan. That's the melancholy. The phlegmatic is, oh, everybody chill. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to get rescued. Don't worry about it. Nobody should get upset. Just calm down. So that's kind of how the 4 personalities would see something even like a fire drill. So that's kind of, I hope it kind of gave you a deeper dive in the personalities. Sarita says, I have some phlegmatic tendencies. Let me put this up. I have some phlegmatic tendencies. 31 flavors, way too much of a choice. So true. But I usually end up with the same flavor. Right, Sarita. And you say you also avoid change. Yeah, that's because, like I said, phlegmatics will say, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Why am I even putting myself in a position to change things? It doesn't make any sense, right? Because it's all working just fine. And so I understand what you're saying. And it's okay. I mean, there are people who thrive off of making changes. A lot of times in relationships, phlegmatics date cholerics because cholerics like to make all the decisions and phlegmatics don't. Now, let me tell you, that's a beautiful space to be in because you balance each other, but it also could be an aggravating place to be because at some point the choleric hates having to make all the decisions. They want your input, even though they want to do it their way anyway, but they would like your input, so that they can just say, I got your input. And the phlegmatics every so often will not want the choleric to make the decision for them. Every so often they're just digging their heels and say, I don't want to do that. I don't want that. That's not what I want. Now, the phlegmatic, if a phlegmatic has a secondary, it will be either the sanguine, the phlegmatic sanguine, which is my daughter. So both of the phlegmatic and the sanguine are very social, right? The phlegmatic like smaller groups of people that they trust and they know well to hang out with. And the sanguine, we can hang out with anybody. We can go to the Beyonce concert and be with hundreds of thousands of people and be okay with that and actually feel at home in that environment. So, but if you are a phlegmatic sanguine or a sanguine phlegmatic, it just depends on which one is more dominant, right? If you're phlegmatic first, you like social things in small groups. If you could actually fluctuate between the two. Um, what else I wanted to say about the relationship piece of it? Phlegmatics are, I said every personality, every household should have a phlegmatic because it keep everybody balanced and calm. Like I remember when I used to be annoyed by things that people would say to me, and my daughter was like, "Why do you let that bother you? Like, why do you let people take control over your feelings, your thoughts, how how you see things? Why do you let that bother you?" And she was so right. But she was always, I would be going off the deep end and she would just be sitting there and not saying a word. And when I was finished going off the deep end, she would very calmly bring me back to center because she stayed in center. I remember also, we were riding together, and I was following somebody, and the person went through the light, and I was following them, and I missed the light, and I was so irritated. But I wasn't angry. I was just annoyed. And so I called the person. I was like, "Hello, don't you know I'm following you?" And the person was like, "Well, why are you so mad?" And I didn't feel like I was mad at all. Like I just felt like I was just annoyed that they went through, but I didn't feel like I was yelling or arguing or anything like that. And I said to my daughter, "Well, why does she think that I'm like angry?" And she said, "Oh, Ma, because you are always at 100. No matter how you communicate, you're always at 100. And most of us don't get to 50." And that was coming from a phlegmatic who doesn't get to 50 and can't understand why I'm always at 100. I could be talking about eating out for dinner and where we're going to eat, and I sound like I'm at 100. So that kind of gives you some information about the personalities. I hope that you have watched all four of the personalities: the popular sanguine, the outgoing, charming, happy-go-lucky, fly by the seat of her pants or his pants, social butterfly, or what's the opposite of a social butterfly? I don't know, social bug. Whatever that person is. Or you are the born leader, powerful choleric, You're the personality that is, always making things happen, a mover, a shaker, highly accomplished, but also bossy and controlling and curt and those things. Um, or if you are the perfect melancholy, that you're striving for perfection, that you are analytical, a deep thinker, compassionate, you care about the world at large, or you're critical and judgmental and moody and depressing or depressed. Or you are phlegmatic, you're cool, calm, collected, you're chill. You're the kind of personality that most people like being around because you're just so mild tempered and you bring the peace in any environment that you're in, but you're also uninvolved and disinterested and, resist change. If you're any of those four personality styles, most of us have a primary and a secondary, that you can understand that we all see life through a different lens. And even if you have the same personality as somebody else, your lens will be different than other people because there are things that shape our personalities. Things like if you are in an abusive relationship, if you have domineering parents or guardians, if you have a chronic illness or chronic pain, some of those things, if you've been abused mentally, physically, sexually, those things can change or change how we present to the world, or shift our personalities in the way we present to the world. So I can be a sanguine and somebody else can be a sanguine, and we can look different based on those set of circumstances. But I'm hoping that you learn something about the four personalities, something that will help you to be able to communicate more effectively with the other personalities, that you will recognize that we are all have something that we have to offer this world through the lens of our personalities, that we can mitigate the challenges and conflicts that we have with other people because we recognize that people are just different, and there's nothing wrong with being different. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay. But if you have some weaknesses, some areas that you are challenged by, it's also okay for you to work on those things, and work on your challenges, your weakness, and stop trying to change other people, because you can only change yourself. So I hope that you understand that about the personalities. I hope that I've given you something to think about. Again, do you have all the personality traits? No, most people have a primary and a secondary. Um, if you think you have all of them, you're probably a phlegmatic because you're indecisive, or you've been through some kind of trauma or something that has changed the way you present to others. So I hope that helped you to see something about your personalities. This show is really dedicated to helping you to um, build healthier, stronger relationships by understanding the personalities, by understanding your own personality first, and then by understanding the personalities of the people that you love or that you work with or that you're in ministry with. So again, I hope this helped you a lot. If you want to learn more again about the personalities, you can go to my website, Beyond Two. You see that back here, Beyond Two, BeyondTwollc.com. Let me show you a little video for next week so you can next week. So we're going to be talking about embracing the personalities. We're going to talk about personality differences with my friend and sister, Dr. Sandra Rice Hardy. I'm so excited to have her back. She was on before talking about self-care. And we're going to probably talk some more about self-care as it relates to the topic, because that is her area of expertise, but she's also in the business space. If you don't know Dr. Sandra Rice Hardy, RYCE is her maiden name, Rice. She's done a lot of work on self-care. She has some products out there that you might be interested in. She does some stuff with the Pepperdine as it relates with Pepperdine University as it relates to leadership. I think you will be excited to hear her again next week. I'm so thankful that you joined me tonight on Personality Speaking. Hey, Trinette, thanks for joining. Thanks, Sarita, for joining. Everybody else who joined in. And for the people who are catching the replay, I hope that you join me next week live when I talk to Dr. Sandra Rice Hardy. And I want you to join us on Personality Speaking, where the tea is always hot and where we're always trying to help you build healthier, stronger relationships by understanding your personalities. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Goodbye, everybody.